What-ho chaps, how's it going? Listen, this is going to get a bit heavy today. We're going to talk about war. What is it good for? Good for your bank account. Good for stimulating the economy if you've got a lot of great arms companies like we do out in the States. No, it's not very good for much, is it? I'm merely exhibiting that commando spirit we talk about, which the most important of them all is definitely sense of humour in adversity. I was always able to laugh everything off. I think it's more important than anything else. Grim black humour is what it's our bread and butter in the British military. The Americans are the same. They're just not quite as good at it as we are. But the fact is, it's a grim subject, and I'm going to have to do a bit of a dive into it because one of my subscribers sent me this message saying, when I was talking about our Bootneck's law of if the BBC asks you a fucking question, if they end a headline in a question, 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. That's just the BBC because they're a ridiculously left-wing news organisation. But sent me a message saying the SAS executed civilians, children and elderly Afghans. That's the bitter truth. We had a bit of a set to, obviously, argued the point. And then she sent me a link, which I dutifully watched. And yeah, shocking stuff, really. So I'm going to talk about it. I have a lot of experience in that arena. I deployed 5 times. I went to Afghanistan twice. I went to Iraq twice. Typically, I don't talk about war all the time on my channel because, you know, I'm a good-humoured chap. I like to keep things light and just, you know, survive on mockery, piss-taking, and general good humour. You know, when you've spent 10 years of your life waging constant war, causing death, misery and annihilation, straddling the battlefield like a mighty colossus from the days of yore. You like to be a bit more light and chill when you're a civvy, you know. Now I'm a strawberry mivvy. I like to keep things relaxed and good-humoured. But fuck it. I'm one of those stoic types who doesn't suffer with PTSD or any of that kind of thing. Just my own opinion. That does seem to be a lot more common with National Guardsmen and people that were so far in the rear they had to send the fucking laundry forwards. And I think that's purely down to a result of your training. I think the more training you do, I'd love to know the figures. I don't think there's any really good official studies, but I think SAS, Special Forces, Commandos, guys who are basically trained to fight for a living, I'd be very surprised if their PTSD levels were anywhere near as high as people who aren't doing kinetic operations all the time. Because frankly, after 5 tours of duty, I still only ever have nightmares about my basic training. I had a couple of dreams for the first few months after my second Afghan tour, which was the most wary one, where we were out constantly doing advanced to contact patrols. Nearly every single time we went on a fucking patrol, we got engaged by the enemy, went through a ton of fucking brass, bombed the fucking shit out of them, and then back to base for tea and stickies. It was an emotional fucking tour, and even that, I had a few dreams when I got back, but it's not troublesome. It's just one of those things. Nearly got blew up when I was having a shit. When those 107mm rockets land on your base, they are scary because all you can hear is like a ear splitting as they get closer in, and then there's like a brief second there where you just don't know where it's going to land, and you're just thinking, there's fuck all I can do here. It's just a lottery. If this lands on me, I'm fucked. That's quite scary. Indirect fire was always more scary than actual direct fire from insurgents trying to fill me full of holes with a fucking AK-47. Because, frankly, I quickly realised that most of those cunts couldn't hit a cow's arse with a fucking shovel, let alone with an unzeroed, frequently dropped AK-47 that they're shooting at you from a fair distance. That sort of started to get a bit old and we didn't worry too much about it. Unless you did actually get shot. Like my mate there, who took one in the arse, tore his thigh up. You know, ironically, if someone wasn't really badly injured, we used to take a photo of them doing the thumbs up and put them on the helo. If the medics had stabilised them and said, listen, they're not going to die, it's not a critical injury, we used to like make light of it. And now I do feel sort of daft about it because, you know, when you're 26, you think you're fucking invincible. And now I've just turned 40. I look at some of them pictures and I just think, fuck me, like, we just thought we could laugh everything off. We sort of seem to think if you got a 7.62 round through your arse and it burst out your fucking thigh but missed your femoral artery, we thought, you'd be doing hill sprints in a fortnight. And that's not the case. I do look at some of my old photos on my hard drive and think, We were so blasé about death. Like, we used to always be laughing and joking. Someone got badly injured, or even if the worst happens, you always have to try and look on the bright side. And nobody ever wants, you don't want your oppos to think of them all being devastated if you get killed in action. So you do have a really grim, sort of humorous look on life when you're there, because what's the point in worrying about it? But yeah, it was a strange time. Anyway, don't want to bore you by swinging the lantern, but I will say I did have to do a bit of self-reflection here, because my initial response to this ridiculous BBC story, written in the same cowardly, guilty as charged, if you're a soldier and you do anything wrong, nail your bollocks to the kitchen table straight away. But if you're a fucking illegal immigrant, or you happen to be brown and you stab someone in the eye, or fucking murder or rape an old woman, then they want to understand. Then they want to say, oh yeah, but did he have a bad childhood? Is he a drug addict? Is he suffering from PTSD because he was abused as a boy? They want to give you all the leeway possible if you fit their identity politics narrative. But if you're a white working class man in the fucking military, which is poor, not privileged people, from some of them, from the boys from the Mersey and the Thames and the Tyne, poor working class lads make up the mainstay of our fucking boots on the ground. And they don't want to give them any leeway. So it does annoy me. Again, I think I'm a centrist, reasonable fella, and I'm happy to hold my hands up when I think the military have fucked up, as I'm about to do now. But it's the lack of consistency on their part that disgusts me. If he's an illegal immigrant, he rapes an old woman, they want to know. They want to know how we can empathise with him and understand his story and all his trials and tribulations. But when someone like Alexander Blackman, who was at my unit, when he kills a man, they just want him back to rights. They say that is a murderer, he's a savage, 25 years doing for murder. And that's the crux of the sore point with me, with the lefty types. They only want to know the extenuating circumstances. They only want to know why, if you fit the victim narrative. If you're a white working class man, even if you're from a town like Middlesbrough and you're a son of a single parent, because my mum died when I was a little kid and I was raised by a fucking welder in the shittest town in England and got shitty GCSEs from a shitty comprehensive school, they don't think you're a victim. And I don't feel like one, because I'm not a fucking pussy. But they only want to understand your trials and tribulations if you aren't a straight white man. It's laughable on the face of it, right? I don't, like I've said many times before, I'm not particularly right-wing on crime. I understand cause and effect. There are always extenuating circumstances that they should be explored. But it just staggers me that I'm willing to apply that principle across the board. They're only willing to apply that principle if you happen to fit the little pigeonhole they want to put you into. If you're not part of the LGBT community, or you're not an oppressed wommans, or you're not a fucking disabled one-legged Muslim lesbian with a foot growing out of your arsehole, they don't give a flying fuck about extenuating circumstances. If you're a white Brexiteer, they don't give a fuck what happens. They just want you nailed into the bastard wall. So anyway, tirade over. Let's get down to business. Actually, that was a bit grim. Let's have a couple of minutes of joviality to distract us before we crack on, shall we? Like Kevin and Karen throwing coffee at people for not wearing masks.
I hear you. It's okay. It's all right. I'm a business owner here for 30 years. I got it. I'm on Sepulveda. We only referral, but the business is Orbit, and we work for companies and government. Yeah, but it's okay. We don't work for residents in the environment. It's all right.
What are you looking at me for? I didn't say shit to you. Get the fuck out
Oh
of
no,
my face.
don't get hit. Oh gee, hey, Matt. Oh shit. That was dumb. Hey, guys, stop.
Okay.
You don't. Hey.
Fuck off me.
Hey, stop.
Get her off me. Get your girl off me. Get her off me.
You shouldn't have thrown the drink in his face.
Funny that. I'll tell you what, it's a uniquely southern sensibility in the UK, and I think most of America. They're very civilised, the Americans. They don't hit women. If that woman poked one into me like she did, just punched him in the face while he's fighting with a boyfriend, I'd have dropped her like a fucking bad habit. Like, I swear down, she would have gone down like a fucking knackered lift. Weird that, innit? Up north, it's the rule of the jungle, because the bitches up north drink like fucking sailors, swear and fuck and fight like sailors. And frankly, if you're not willing to poke one into the cunt when they're windmilling on you with a fucking stiletto, you're probably going to lose an eye or a tooth or something. So, my old fella raised me and said, listen, don't hit women, but demand the same treatment. If a woman wants to fight you like a man, you fucking hit her like a man. I swear to God. Full disclosure, I've dropped several women over my long life. One of them was in Exmouth. She hit me over the head with a bottle. In fact, I'll tell you the stories. Fuck it, that'll cheer us up before we get into the important stuff. So one of them, very drunk, outside Sam's in Exmouth at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Woman singing very loudly. I, chuckling, turned around and said to her, fucking hell, love, can't you whistle? I.e., haha, you're a bad singer. She looked perplexed and then just twatted me over the fucking head with a bottle of Wicked or something. Just went bong and bounced off my head, and then she let go of it. It just float off. Everyone starts laughing. It didn't smash. It's only in the movies typically. It just went bump and fucked off. And I went, you fucking bitch. And then when I put my hand on my head and it come away red, I saw fucking red. I went, you fucking daft fat cunt. And then she come at me and lifted her hand up to punch me. And I just fucking give the cunt a right hook. Dropped her like a fucking starfish. And 2 coppers come running over. They were just across the fucking road near the corner where Rumours used to be. 2 coppers come running over. And I said, she twatted me over the head with a bottle. And then raised her hand to have another go. So I dropped the cunt. I said, 'cause I'm a gentleman. I didn't give her a good fucking chewing. Right? Gentleman. I was very tempted to kick her in the fucking tits while she was down, but I didn't, even though my head was bleeding. So, coppers wrote my name down and said, we might need to follow this up. And I said, I'm at the camp. There's my fucking name. Nothing happened. Just like my old man said. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is known as the 3-second rule. If a woman assaults you, my dad taught me this, it always works. If a woman's swinging at you, throwing punches at you, give her 3 seconds to fucking wrap in. Turtle up. Let her throw punches at you. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And if they're still coming in, fucking drop the cunt. Self-defence, perfectly reasonable. I got my name took by the coppers for dropping a woman who just bottled me. No charges filed. Didn't even get a follow-up call. And I chinned one in a chip shop because she pinched my fucking chips. And when I said, you've had enough chips, fatty, she started beating me up. And I'm there trying to protect the chips. She throws about fucking 13 punches at me and they're all bouncing off my head. And after about the fucking 10th punch, I just thought, 3-second rule, I'm going to have to ditch the chips. Whap! And at that point, she was like fucking Godzilla. I've told the story before. Went fucking apeshit, molten cheese in her fucking eyebrows. The lot. No fucking issues. Didn't get nicked for that. There was a fat bird tried it on with me in Millennium in Middlesbrough. There's another one. I fucking had to fling her down the stairs because she started throwing punches at me. Basically, if women throw punches into you and they hit you more than twice, fucking drop them. Make sure you don't give them a kicking or anything. We are civilised gentlemen, right? Don't want anyone assaulting any women or anything needlessly. But if a woman's fucking proper poking them into you, you can fucking drop the cunt. They're going about equality. I'm sorry. I'm not willing to stand there and let a woman punch me repeatedly in the face. Call me a bluff old traditionalist. I think someone that's doing that is violent and should be fucking stopped. Anyway, that was a bit of a tirade. Short version, she should have got fucking chinned. If that guy, he's obviously a civilised American chap. If that was in Middlesbrough, he'd have fucking wrapped around that lamppost and she'd have had a limp for a month. So she got very fucking lucky, that necky, coffee-throwing Karen, didn't she? Fuck me. People have gone crazy with this shit. Some fat nurse stopped me last week out walking with my missus because I didn't have a mask on. And I was like, leave me alone, you fucking boring bastard. You're spitting more and getting closer the more you argue. Just give me a wide berth and fuck off. Anyway, went off on a tangent. Let me get to the serious stuff. So I was going to cover this in my BBC roundup, but it warrants a video of its own now. Did UK Special Forces execute unarmed civilians? No, 99 times out of 100, but here's where we get into some shady ground. It says, at the height of the war, 2 senior officers met in a bar to have a secret conversation. They feared some of the UK's most highly trained troops has adopted a deliberate policy of illegally killing unarmed men. That's not true. It's not going to be a deliberate policy, is it? 2 officers were 1,000 miles from dust and danger of Helmand province in Afghanistan. They returned from the war where his troops reported their understanding of an execution-style killing carried out by special forces. HQ read reports of growing concern, said there was a sharp rise in number of enemies killed in action by UKSF. After the conversation, a briefing note believed to have been written by one of the most senior members of the UKSF was passed up the chain of command, and the message contained clear warnings for the highest levels, concluding that these concerning allegations merited deeper investigations to put a stop to criminal behaviour. The documents were released to solicit a lay day as part of an ongoing case at the High Court. The man bringing the case is Salifa Garabiai. He says that 4 members of his family were assassinated. Don't believe a word of it. Panorama said they worked with the Sunday Times Inside team to reveal evidence of a pattern of illegal killings. Basically, right, this is where I'm going to talk about nuance. The vast majority of these cases are ambulance chasing lawyers and Afghans knowing they can exploit this situation to make a large sum of money. There are exceptions, but going into a house and executing a fucking family doesn't happen. It doesn't. What these people need to realise is our soldiers are normal lads. Normal working class blokes who do a bit of training. That's it. They aren't robots. Our special forces are not robots. I've fucking been to pool. I did my SBS briefing course. Normal people. They just pass a few courses and then they're badged. And then you train a lot when most of the training happens when you're actually at your unit. It's not when you're in basic training. That's the bread and butter, isn't it? A lot of civilians seem to think you do your 32 weeks at Lympstone and all of a sudden you're fucking Ahmad, Bruce, Muhammad Ali. And it's not, isn't it? That's the basic bread and butter stuff. Most of your training happens at a unit. I fired pistols once in basic training. You do it plenty when you're at your unit. That's when you sharpen up. We did unarmed combat at the unit. You do hardly any in training. You do all your stuff you learn is doing your operational deployment training before you go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Northern Ireland, Sierra Leone, wherever you go. You do tons of fucking pre-deployment training. That's when you get good, and that's when your skills and drills get smooth. It's a very lengthy process because people aren't robots. Not fucking androids. The idea that we've got lads going into a family home and just killing a load of kids is ridiculous. That is where I want to dispute entirely. They're not freaks. If I was on the ground with 6 of my mates and one of them's like, hey, let's go and fucking shoot that 4-year-old, you don't think the other 5 are going to go, fuck off, you mad cunt? Yeah, I'm not saying you might not occasionally get a psycho in the military. They're fallible like anybody else. But the protection from that is, it's not like in the movies where you're going out on the ground like fucking Jason Bourne. The SAS don't operate on their own. They don't just get one bloke, put him in a chopper and go, all right, Dave, go and kick some fucking ass, yo. Woo! And throw him out the fucking helicopter in the middle of Afghanistan. Just go, you crack on, mate. Slot a few cunts and then we'll pick you up in an hour. It doesn't happen. When you're on the ground in Helmand, we were going out in a company plus, talking about 100 guys. SF go out in smaller teams. Might get a section or half a section, but they don't go out on their own. And if you're out on the ground with 4 to 8 men, you're not going to get 8 psychopaths, are you? We're going to be like, right, should we go and flamethrower the fucking orphanage, boys? Yes, nice one. RPG that ice cream van. Doesn't fucking happen. So most of this is bollocks. Just think of it logically. The government and the British military is not interested in killing children because they know in the long run that makes you lose the war. That creates more insurgents. You kill babies, you create more insurgents. That's why we have such strict Card Alpha rules of engagement. We don't do it. Command doesn't want you to do it, and 99% of the boots on the ground don't want to do it. So think of it logically. That's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about exceptions to the rule. This video that Sparkle O'Haw, like the name, sent me, I watched it as promised because she said the SAS executed children. Didn't happen. I'm sorry, that didn't happen. They do not execute a child. Why? Who wants you to do that? And which serving soldier wants to do that? How did they do it? Fuck, a 3-year-old blow his head off. Come on. Even I'd be concerned about guilt and shame if I did that. And I am a horrible, horrible bastard. So it's not happening. Now is where I'm going to meet her halfway and concede when some of the arguments have merit. Sergeant Al Blackman, Royal Marine, if you never heard of him, several years ago, he shot a critically wounded insurgent, right? When I first heard he'd been charged with murder, I assumed he'd killed a civilian. That wasn't the case. They were doing the patrols. He engaged them first. They returned fire, badly wounded him, and then he was caught on video while clearing the compounds, coming across the critically injured Afghan who was dying anyway, had multiple gunshot wounds. He was caught on video saying, shall we waste a fucking FFD on this oxygen thief here, boys? And they went, fuck it. And he give him the old fucking 2 in the head. Afterwards he said, I've just brought the Geneva Convention there, boys, keep it quiet. One of the silly cunts didn't, shared the fucking video, and I believe it was a fireman who rang the police. Fucking weasel. Anyway, that is not acceptable, and that's unprofessional. But this is what I want to talk about, extenuating circumstances. I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen. It will sometimes happen. But these people are dealing with extremely stressful situations. And one of the reasons I left the Royal Marines, I was extremely annoyed about this type of thing. Because when we were deploying, I felt as if Command was more interested in the lives of the Afghans than they were of ours. And now I'm older, I understand that with nuance. When you're an old fucker, you see the big picture, and I do understand it. Because for every civilian or innocent person you kill, you create 50 more fighters. Their culture is all about revenge. That's why they do it. I do understand it now. It was a bitter pill for me to swallow when I was 26. Now I do get it. It's hard, but you have to be professional. But that's what Blackman was dealing with. Al Blackman, seeing his men die. You know, they were weary, desperate, in a fucking rough place in Helmand province. Troop numbers were dwindling, and they'd physically seen their men dying. I think he'd lost 7 blokes in their company. And they said one of them, yeah, they hadn't recovered his corpse, and the body parts were strung up to taunt the inhabitants of the base. Stuff like that affects a man. I'm sure Sparkle O'Hare would agree with me. It would affect me. I never seen anybody get strung up. That's fucking bad. I was lucky like that. We lost guys, killed or injured, blew up or shot, but I never dealt with anything as bad as that. It would affect you. To put him up on a murder charge without considering any of them extenuating circumstances is why I was so angry and bitter with the military for as long as I was. I was bitter and twisted and angry that they wouldn't think of extenuating circumstances. They do it with everyone. They do it with crackheads, burglars, rapists and murderers. But when a soldier does it, they're just done him for murder straight away. And me, I could see it 10 miles away. At worst, it's manslaughter. He didn't plan to kill the man. He unlawfully killed him in a manner where he shouldn't have killed him. He should have administered first aid. But considering all they'd been through, at worst it was manslaughter with diminished responsibility. And that would happen if you came home from work, if you're a plumber, and you come home from work and there's a guy fisting your wife in the living room, and you beat him to death with your tool bag. They would consider the extenuating circumstances. You probably wouldn't get done for murder, because you didn't plan in advance to kill the guy. This is why I was angry, because they hold our soldiers to a higher standard than our own civilians. Much higher. And he should never have been up on a murder charge. The Navy and the upper echelons of the Royal Marines and the British Army and the political establishment are fucking wrong. And they know they're wrong. And the general public knows it's wrong. Because if he was a smackhead who knifed someone after an argument in the pub, there would be many extenuating circumstances considered. It'd be unlikely you get done for murder in those situations. To have a man who's watched his men and his young men die around him and dealt with that, and the guy he's shot is an enemy fighter, not a civilian, and he was critically injured anyway, and he gets done for murder, is a sham, and it was always a sham, and that's why he got out in the end with manslaughter. It does happen. Sometimes a soldier will kill an unarmed person. It will happen, I'm sure of it. But you've got to consider the big picture, and this is where I'm going to meet her halfway. Sparkle, I'll meet her halfway. This is the video she sent me. Killing fields, allegations of Aussie SF in Helmand province. Same place I was. Look at them. This is a short video. They see a guy in a field. He was suspicious. That's all we're told about the footage. Watch it.
The dog, named Quake, is then let off the leash.
Hey, come! That's in a Bootneck! Quiet down!
The dog handler's gun is trained on a figure in the distance who drops down into the field. At the field, the dog handler and Soldier C come across a young man amongst the wheat who's trying to fight off Quake.
Quiet! Leave! Quiet!
In the man's hand appears to be a set of red prayer beads. No weapon or radio can be seen. The Afghan is compliant and quiet on the ground.
Down.
As the dog is called off, Soldier C trains his weapon on the Afghan from very close range. He then turns to the dog handler.
I don't know, mate. Drop this cunt!
Right. So what do you want me to say about that? Clearly, the shooter is out of order. And I'll hold my hands up to that. That shouldn't be happening. It's unprofessional. But there's a few things to add, right? I don't know whether they were prayer beads or not. I don't know what else he had on him. You're not close enough to see. Don't know whether he was carrying. Don't know whether he was wired up. Don't know what he had on him. That's just a statement. Or he had nothing. Secondly, what's gone on earlier that day? Are they responding to an IED, a shooting? What's gone on there? We don't know. How long have those lads been on the ground? You get a lot of people out there who deny fucking all knowledge, and then you walk in their house and there's a fucking ammo stockpile in there. There's a lot of stuff to consider. I'm not making excuses for him, but again, I'm saying it's a fine line between murder and manslaughter when you're in a war zone and there's all those stresses combined. We don't know the full story here. We just get the story that the ABC are presenting us. That is shocking, and that man shouldn't have been shot in that situation. But I'm just saying there's a lot more to consider. Proving me right in a way was the reaction of his mates, right? It wasn't like everybody was there egging him on. Because you're not going to get like 6 guys who are like, yeah, fuck it, let's just kill everyone. It doesn't happen. He was clearly not interested in seeing it go down like that, the guy whose helmet camera it was. And the guy who did the shooting was a fucking bit of a cunt, if it's as clear-cut as it seems to be. But yeah, the point I would make is you don't know what's going on. You don't know if they suspect him of being involved with a very recent incident that might have killed or injured people. You can't really see if he's carrying anything, or he might have had a detonator or fucking whatever. There's a lot of questions asked. There should be an inquest and the guy should be charged with something. But it's a long way from the Aussie SAS bludgeons babies to death in the crib, because I don't see it happening. So that was what I wanted to talk about. I want to know why we have so much compassion and empathy for standard run-of-the-mill criminals, illegal immigrants, murderers, rapists, paedophiles. Why the left especially want us to empathise and understand and be mindful whenever they do anything wrong. But when soldiers fuck up, hung, drawn and quartered, murder, kill 'em all, seems to be the response from the tolerant left and the ambulance chasing lawyers and the fucking BBC. Let me know what you guys think. It's quite harrowing to watch. Bit of a cunt. Well, harrowing's a strong term. I'm fucking nails. Nothing's harrowing for me to watch. But yeah, that guy's a bit of a prick. The fact that they're so unprofessional annoys me. Because at the end of the day, you know the guy's got a camera, you know it might get seen, you know how bad it's going to help you know how much it's going to hurt the war effort and your compatriots if shit like that goes down and people see it. So, the guy's a knobhead. But there may be other fucking circumstances. He might have had to pick his mate's fucking body parts out of his fucking forearms. Do you know what I mean? Like that when I was out there, one of our turps got blown up. All the guys stood near the cunt had to physically pick his bones out of the forearms and the neck. The sergeant major had fucking bits of bone sticking in his neck and in his forearms. The type of stuff affects you. And I don't understand why people can be so empathic to random run-of-the-mill pond scum, but be so quick to condemn our soldiers for their transgressions, their rare transgressions. That's all I've got to say. Let me know what you think, Sparkle or Whore. I'll meet you halfway and say sometimes civilians get executed. Children, I'm not having it. I'm not fucking having it. I'll have it when I see it. Yeah, that's me for the day. Have a good weekend. Share it, like it, subscribe, you know the crack. And fear not, I'll do some more good-humoured things this weekend for my weekly news roundup. Thanks for watching. Cheers.